Hello, welcome to High Vibe Astrology. This is Jennifer, back with a video on the Cancer full moon drawn up for January 13, 2025 at 5:26 p.m. Eastern Time. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for being here, for finding this channel, and for supporting it with your positive energy. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll do so. Hit the like button and share the messages as you feel guided. These are all free and easy ways to support this channel. The day I'm recording this is January 11th, when the nodes of the moon have shifted from Aries and Libra to Pisces and Virgo. North Node is our compass and direction for greater soul fulfillment, and the soul is quite literally what we are talking about with Pisces. Pisces represents the soul's deepest longing. South Node represents habits from the past, and in Virgo, those habits are even more emphasized because Virgo and its native sixth house represent health and wellness, daily habits, routines, and devotions. Virgo's challenge is overcoming the low vibe expression of not being good enough, not being enough in the world. The sixth house governs unequal footing in certain dynamics, like the student teacher, the adept guru, or the patient doctor. One appears to have all the answers, and so the low vibe of Virgo is overcoming this feeling of having to look to an expert for answers instead of trusting itself for guidance. In any case, the Pisces North Node is now guiding all of us in the collective to make necessary changes where this pattern is concerned. So there are definitely going to be changes with regard to the health industry and how we perceive and deal with health in the collective. And this is illustrated by a trine between the South Node and Uranus. Uranus is the disruptor, so it's, literally breaking up these old habits from the past. Trines are harmonious, though, and they indicate that we have support from the universe to get these changes implemented. We also have the ancient ruler of Virgo, Mercury, in the sixth house, echoing the Virgo theme. And this is telling us that it is our mental constructs that have contributed to the feeling of not being enough or not having adequate answers or adequate information, which has led us to less than adequate health conditions. This is also echoed by the fact that the South Node sits in the third house of mental processing. But the Pisces North Node is calling us to think beyond the tangible realm, beyond these mental constructs, and realize the infinite potential in the intangible world of dreams and spirit that always seed and inform what we manifest for ourselves in the tangible world. The world of Pisces is spiritual vision, and that spiritual vision has to be cultivated and accepted, really, before anything tangible can manifest. The way our mind works is it doesn't really distinguish between what is imagined and what we are experiencing in the physical world. We can actually imagine ourselves well to the point of being physically well. And I remember a while back I talked about Joe Dispenza. He is the perfect example of this, but I don't have time to go into that. I just highly recommend his work, his books, his podcasts, because there's a lot that we can learn from his example. Anyway, the fact that we have the modern ruler of Pisces, which is Neptune, conjunct this North Node is an astrological exclamation point, emphasizing the importance of allowing information from beyond our physical dimension to inform our way forward at this time, particularly as it impacts our health and our daily habits. The ancient ruler for Pisces is Jupiter, and Jupiter in Gemini is expanding our minds in the realm of communication and duality so that we can evolve. 11th house themes, which is humanity's evolution. Chiron is the modern ruler of Virgo, and reveals the key to our healing. It even looks like a key. The sign that it occupies tells us where the ancient wounding occurred and how to heal it now. In Aries, Chiron is telling us that the wound occurred around our identity, our self-image, or feeling like we had the freedom to forge our own pathway forward, making independent choices and decisions. This is especially true for the United States because we are currently in our Chiron return, and I'll come back to that shortly. We are experiencing an extremely important, brand new 50-year cycle. That's how long it takes for Chiron to go all the way through the zodiac and come back to its original position. Anyway, in this chart, in the Cancer full moon chart, Chiron is important because it forms a T-square to the sun and moon, the luminaries that represent our conscious and unconscious aspects. This Cancer full moon is known as the wolf moon, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac. They called it the wolf moon because it was usually at this time of year when farmers would hear more wolves howling at the moon. Wolves get a bad rap for being predators, and while their howl is a signal to gather for hunting, they also signify locating other pack members, reinforcing social bonds, and defending their territory. This is honestly the best description for this Cancer full moon that I can think of, especially with a T-square from Chiron that addresses the need for establishing healthy boundaries, defending one's own right to assert independence, the alpha who defends and leads the pack. And that really describes Aries very well. So I feel this lunar cycle is a coming of age for humanity to channel their own inner wolf and send out the message to other would-be predators that we will be sheep no more. At the Capricorn new moon, I mentioned that we were initiating new structures for doing business in the world. Saturn, as the ruler of Capricorn, represents old structures that are being washed away in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is washing away these old structures, paradigms, and boundaries. I even talked about how Saturn used to be or represent the last planet of the ancient solar system. But now we have so many more planets being discovered, Sedna being one of them, Sedna being discovered in 2003, breaking the Greco-Roman threshold. And then after Sedna was discovered, so many other planets beyond the Kuiper Belt were being discovered. Anyway, we are forming new constructs for being in the world and being in this physical body even, that must allow for much more than meets the eye in our current or really former paradigm. Our reality is significantly changing, and this wolf moon is the siren call for that change in power. So let's look now at the sun and moon. We have a wide conjunction between the sun and Pluto, and a conjunction between the moon and Mars, ruler of our Chiron in Aries. Mars retrograde is asking us to review, reassess patterns from our past that have caused certain unconscious behavior patterns developed for survival. These are our defense mechanisms. And the conjunction to the moon tells us that this has to do with our emotional nature, emotional bonding and bonding patterns, the mother or mother figure, our family, and our domestic scene. Pluto with a sun is deeply transforming an old self-image or identity, as well as how we express ourselves in the world. This astrological pattern signifies intense death and rebirth. And this, by the way, echoes the United States solar return, a video I did back in July, I think, with Scorpio rising and an 8th house placement of the sun and moon. The United States is without a doubt going through a major death and rebirth and a shifting of power from one source to another, one administration or form of leadership to another. So if we looked at nothing else in this chart, just looking at the luminaries and these conjunctions and this ongoing opposition between Mars and Pluto tells us so much of the story. everything we need to know, really. These aspects alone reveal the profound transformation, death and rebirth of the collective clan represented by the United States. Anytime you have Mars conjunct the moon, this combination signifies defending the home or homeland. If we are to establish healthy boundaries, as signified by Chiron in Aries, surely we can see how necessary it is to set boundaries, define our territory, and defend the human tribe. This is the theme for the United States right now. Chiron at 19 degrees of Aries is about to make its final conjunction to the USA's Chiron at 20 Aries. The first conjunction took place on April 20th, 2024. The second, when it was retrograde, occurred on November 8th. And now the third and final conjunction occurs on February 18, 2025. It is significant because Chiron has a 50-year cycle of healing. The first two conjunctions serve to bring forth the root cause of any wounding that we need to heal. And Jupiter in the fourth brings hope and optimism back to our nation within the realm of our domestic scene, our home. It also suggests that, especially in the sign of Gemini, healing can only come through the dissemination of important information. But Gemini also represents commerce, communication, and Jupiter in Gemini is expanding our trade worldwide for the benefit of everyone, not just our nation, but everyone involved. Jupiter in the fourth house symbolizes the expansion of real estate. So I would not be surprised if we do acquire more property, or if it isn't acquisition of property, just the alliances that are formed that will definitely bring more expansion and economic growth to both parties. Chiron itself sits in the second house, and this is the realm of economic security, self-sufficiency, self-esteem, and worthiness, but also what we value the most. Aries on the second house cusp is telling us that what we value is our independence, that we want to be more self-sufficient. So being economically independent and energy independent, these are the themes of the second house. And because this chart that we're looking at right now is a 50-year cycle, so these are the themes that will be unfolding over the next 50 years. The sign that Chiron is in always describes the type of wound that is in need of healing. And in this case, what the United States as a nation has experienced is a deep wound having to do with our identity, independence, and quite frankly, how we defend ourselves and our homeland. Because in the Sibley chart, Chiron occupies the fourth house, another Mars-Moon combination. Mars rules Aries, and the moon rules the fourth house, echoing this Moon-Mars conjunction we currently have in the Cancer full moon cycle. We have definitely been experiencing an identity crisis in this country, and it's time for us to stand up for ourselves, our roots, our ancestry, which is also a fourth house issue. I know how controversial this subject is, but given the astrology, the previous administration has fulfilled its mission in terms of waking us up to the fact that we can no longer be the world's welcome mat. What is being activated by this full moon as it impacts the United States chart is nothing other than the completion of power from one administration to another. The eighth house represents where we learn to use power wisely, and also where we've had to confront major power issues, abuses, and struggles within ourselves and within the world. Transiting Mars and Pluto, co-rulers of Scorpio and the eighth house, are activating this axis of power in the United States, as well as our nodes of destiny. I also assign Sedna to Scorpio and the eighth house as the planet signifying the eagle, the third symbol of Scorpio. And Sedna's energy reminds us that the one and only true source of power comes from the divine creator. If we aren't good stewards or managers of our own physical energy, then unscrupulous leaders will exploit it. And that's what's been happening. When each of us takes responsibility for our individual energy, our body, mind, spirit temple, it automatically transfers to the greater collective. Sedna in Gemini reinforces the theme that confessions, communication, Gemini, must be heard in order for real and lasting healing to occur in our world. In the meantime, this lunar cycle is saying to us, it's time to channel our inner wolf, defend our territory, our own body, mind, spirit connection and sacred temple. In doing so, we will gather our human family together and protect not just our nation, but the entire planet we call home. So that is what I have for you. That is what I see. Please stay tuned for the frequencies, and I look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.